Hi guys, my name is Bobby. Welcome back to my channel. And today I kind of had this wild idea. Actually, I kind of had it last night where I thought I should make a video kind of reminiscent of when people do Q&As, but only you're not asking me questions. I'm just giving you all the answers. I noticed recently that I got a kind of surge of subscribers, like 20 to 30. And I have a feeling that most of you guys came over from Sarah's channel, from Sarah's Nightstand, because she mentioned me in a video in one of her hauls. And her and I are doing something in October, so you'll hear her mention me again towards the end of this month, beginning of October. So I decided, since there's new people here, and I know, like, for me, when I first find a booktuber or a recommended one and I go to their channel, I don't necessarily like, I do like to binge their videos, but sometimes it's kind of hard until you watch a lot of their videos to kind of get to know them. Like, you may not know them personally, like, but you'll learn their reading taste pretty fast. So I figured, hey, I could sit down, do a quick video because, you know, I'm lacking in content anyways, and kind of give you a hi, hello, welcome, this is me, and give you a little bit of insight on who I am as a person and who I am as a booktuber. Hey guys, so I'm just popping in here before we get into the video to let you know that this is very chaotic. It's very much me. If you've been here long enough, you know how chaotic I am and how I jump around a lot. So while editing this, I realized that I kind of jump around all over the place, which is very on brand, and I ramble, which is also very on brand. So if you're new here, getting quite the introduction to me, so I apologize in advance. It's very chaotic. I spent an hour filming it. I'm not going to refilm it. It's just a get to know me video anyway. So of course, like, my brain was moving faster than my mouth, and here we are with the chaos. So onward. So first off, I don't make consistent content. I mean, I do, but I don't. I always post something every month. I was, for a while there, doing at least 1 to 2 videos a week. And then the pandemic hit, and then I lost all motivation. I was in a really bad reading slump for most of 2020. I think in 2020, I only read like 30-something books, and normally I read about 70 or 80 a year. And I only read like 30-something last year because I was in such a slump. 2020 sucked for all of us. I'm an essential worker, so 2020 really sucked. But because of that, coming out of my slump in 2021, it took a long time into this year to, like, kind of pull myself out of it. And because I finally did, right now, I'm only really posting, for sure, TBRs and wrap-ups. I may post a vlog here and there. I used to vlog all the time. You know, my kids are finally starting to get back into doing things, so I might post, you know, vlogs here and there. But it's almost like I kind of forgot how to. And it's like, I don't do anything really interesting. I don't film B-rolls of me reading. We'll see. But so for right now, it's definitely going to be TBRs and wrap-ups, and maybe other stuff here and there, like this video, which I randomly got the idea to do. So I'm making it, and then I'm going to post it. So just for your, you know, your knowledge, I will be posting at least twice a month, but, you know, any more than that, we'll see. I don't like to do a lot of the filler videos that a lot of other booktubers do, because if you've seen one, you've seen them all, especially if you watch a lot of booktubers that read a lot of the same things or the same genres. So if you kind of seen one, you've seen them all. And I'm not going to keep, you know, I don't want to put out that content because I don't like watching those kind of videos. So I'm not going to put them out. Now, like, circling back around to 2020, and I guess going into more of like personal stuff. Hi, again, my name's Bobby. I'm 37 years old. I live in the United States, specifically Washington State. I live in a very small town that is on an island. I am surrounded by water and forest lands, and where I live is absolutely gorgeous, but it's also very expensive to live here. I was born and raised in this town, and as I've grown, it's gotten way more expensive to live. So my family lives in an apartment, a smaller apartment, which accounts for my filming background. We don't have very much room in this apartment. I have 2 teenage children that live with me, that are mine, obviously, and with my husband. I have, because I always say I have 2.5 kids. I have a stepdaughter who is almost 22 years old and is out of the house. So there's me, my husband, and 2 teenage children that live in this tiny apartment. So my filming setup, I film on my bed. So I'm sitting on my bed. I have a small bookshelf right here. Right here, I have another one that my husband built that is literally in front of one half of my closet that is full. And then he bought me another small one that's out in the living room, kind of shoved in a corner, that is also full and has books stacked on top of it. So I don't have a lot of room. So because of that, when I read books, if I don't like them, or I don't want to keep them or I'm not going to reread them, I immediately donate them to make room for new incoming books. I only have books on my shelves that are either unread or are favorites. So, you know, which is another reason why I don't make certain videos, because I don't have the back stock of books to be able to hold everything up. And editing, honestly, you know, like I guess I could pull stuff, you know, off the internet, like covers, but that's another reason why I don't have a lot of books on hand-ish. So when it comes to my family, like I've been with my husband for 18 years and married to him for 13 years as of 2021. When we met, I was 19 and he was 24, and we met at work and we got together and been together ever since. So, you know, long-term married woman over here. I have, as far as my children go, my oldest, my stepdaughter, when I got with my husband, she was 3 years old. She's now almost 22. She's engaged to be married herself and of course is out of the house. I have 2 teenage children that are mine and my husband's that live with us. My son Lucas, who's 15 and has autism. So you might see me mention autism now and again because I'm a very much an autism advocate, and my son is not super high functioning. He's kind of middle of the road. He can walk, he can talk, but his verbal abilities have gotten so much better over the years, but he can't hold a conversation with you. So you can ask him like yes or no questions. If you ask him how his day went at school, he will tell you kind of, but he usually repeats words, and he has echolalia, which is repeating what you say. So if I say, Lucas, did you have a good day at school? He'll say, have a good day at school. He's had that since he was tiny. So, you know, he's smart and he's handsome and he's absolutely adorable. As I'm talking about them, I may put pictures of them on the screen so that you can kind of see, because if you go back through my videos, my kids are in there quite a bit. I did a Disneyland trip, and I did a video all about our trip to Disney at one point in 2019. So there's pictures of them there too, but you know, you might see them pop in now and again. My daughter likes to all the time because she is an attention whore. Speaking of my daughter, Danielle, she is 13. She loves cosplay and she's a sports nut. Like she plays soccer, basketball, and softball. So I'm constantly on the go with sports and have been since she was 5 years old. So that also eats into my time. So when it comes to reading and making videos, like, you know, she keeps me busy. Thank God Lucas doesn't play sports, because dear God, having one child doing it all the time is more than enough for sure. Danielle is on the spectrum. I don't know how deep. She's LGBTQIA+. She came out when she was like 11, and I looked at her and I said, okay. And she goes, you're not upset? I'm like, child. I said, first of all, I've known that you were not straight since you were 2 years old. Second of all, I'm bisexual. So no, I do not care. So as of right now, her identifiers are kind of weird. I mean, with her being 13 years old, she is still learning who she is as a person. Her brain is still developing. She's still trying to figure out where she fits in the world. So what she kind of identifies as changes every day. What she does know is that she does not like boys. So she's very much gay, and either she's not sure she's non-binary. She uses she, they pronouns for now. So she's not quite sure where she fits there yet. But she definitely prefers female. So she's kind of on the pansexual spectrum, because what'd she say? She said like omnisexual, where it's like a division off of pan, but you have a preference. So she prefers females, or, you know, female anatomy, female, like it's confusing for me. I'm trying to learn with her. So, you know, she very much has her own style. She's very 90s goth grunge in her style, and we just let her kind of do whatever she wants when it comes to her style, because that's part of growing up. Like, you need to let them be them and kind of figure out who they are. And she's very much in the deep of figuring out who the hell she is as a person, which, you know, she's an 8th grader in middle school. So, you know, middle school is always that weird time where you just kind of figure out who you are and figure out who your friends are. She's currently dating another girl. Actually, her girlfriend / boyfriend okay. This is where it's hard for me as a parent, because her significant other was born a female named Olivia, but they prefer to use he, him pronouns and like to go by Jeremy or Remy, which is totally fine. So when they are at my house, you know, whatever, hanging out with Danielle, I call them Remy. But their parents know that they are gay, but don't know that they feel that they are trans. So if I'm in front of their parents, I have to use she, her, and call her Olivia. So it can be confusing sometimes. Being a parent of a teenage child who, in this day and age where everything is opened up when it comes to the LGBTQI plus spectrum, where these kids are trying to figure out where they fit in life, is very confusing as a parent, where when I grew up, you were either gay, bi, straight, or trans, and that was it. Like, there was 4 and you were 1 and that was it. And now there's so many, and these kids are trying to figure out where they fit in, that, you know, with this kid not, you know, feeling comfortable coming out to their parents as being gay, but yet hasn't gone the extra step that they feel trans. And, you know, according to Danielle, they might want to transition to be male someday. Her significant other, not Danielle. So, you know, and they're 13, they're so young. So I'm learning a lot with my child as we navigate this, but she's a really fun, goofy ass kid, you know, and she's my clone child, which you'll have seen, as if I've posted pictures of her, you will have seen she looks exactly like her mother. Poor child. But that's my core family. Some of you have been here for a long time, ask about my dad a lot, and I appreciate that. My dad was one of my best friends. Him and I have always been very close. He is 73 and he's now in a nursing home. So for, you know, all of you have been asking, he's in a nursing home. He's okay. My dad has dementia and he came down with it pretty quickly in late 2018, early 2019, and it really progressed in 2020. My sister was living with him for a while and taking care of him. I fought for guardianship of him and lost. So the state now has control of my dad. So he is in a nursing home now. And actually today, after I'm done filming, I have to go out to his house and get any of my own personal effects that he may have stored there for me, like pictures and stuff like that. So later today is going to be kind of a rough one. I may have to go to my favorite bar and get a drink and some lunch maybe afterwards, just because, you know, it might be a rough morning. It was hard for me. That also compounded how hard 2020 was for me. My dad was my best friend. Like, we talked every day. Sometimes we talked for 3 hours a day on the phone, but my dad and I were always very, very, very close. He was very close to all of his grandkids. My sister has 4 boys and I have my 2 kids, and he was very close with the 6 grandkids. Loved them more than anything in the world. I think he loved them more than me and my sister, to be honest. And now with him being in a nursing home, and he's like, how many miles? Like 60 miles away from me now. So they couldn't even put him in a nursing home close. So, you know, when he got in there, of course, first we couldn't visit at all because of COVID, and now we can, but it's hard because mentally he isn't far enough in his disease to where he doesn't know what's going on. So when if my sister's been to visit multiple times, and, you know, he cries the entire time and begs to go home and says, don't let them take my house, which that's what's happening today, is that they're getting his house ready to sell to pay for his care. So it's one of those things where it's hard for me, as, you know, with us being so close mentally. In my head, my dad died about 2 years ago in my head. Like, the dad I know is gone. So his body's still there, and very small parts of him are still there. But the parts that, you know, were important, and that, you know, when we would call each other and stuff and like just talk about our days and stuff like that. And, you know, with me, like, I worked really hard to get like my credit score up, you know, to, you know, be, you know, super adult. And that's something my dad had drilled into my head from the time I was a small kid. And all I wanted to do is call my dad and be like, Dad, guess what my credit score is? You'd be so proud of me, you know, or when I bought my first car on my own, stuff like that, to where, you know, he'd always been really adamant about, you need to have good credit and you need to make sure you have savings, and like all the stuff he tried to teach you that they don't teach you in school. And I couldn't call my best friend and tell him, hey, Dad, guess what I did? And so that's been a struggle. I've gotten better now that I know he's safe and he's squared away and stuff like that. It's gotten a little better, but it's still hard. So to all of you who've asked about my dad, I appreciate it. Thank you. I know I mentioned it last year a lot because it was really hard for me. But he's safe now and he's okay. But, you know, still emotionally, there's still some grieving to be done. So, like, lighter note, let's move on from the sad things. I work a full-time job. I'm an essential worker. So 2020, again, sucked balls being essential and having to work through the entire thing. And people were just assholes. I work in a grocery store, a major West Coast grocery chain. There is some sprinkled in the Midwest and a little bit in the Upper East Coast. But it's mostly a West Coast company. They expanded a little bit. So, but I am a bookkeeper. I'm the head bookkeeper. So for my store, so the bookkeepers for these, like, you know, you have one in each store. I also do price changes, which they call file maintenance, which I do at least one day a week, which is a graveyard shift. So if you ever hear me mention graveyard shift, that's what it is. It's Tuesday into Wednesday. Today I'm filming on a Thursday. Thursdays and Fridays are my days off. So today's my Saturday. I love my job. It's just the scheduling is so crazy, but the schedule allowed me to raise my children. So with me working early in the morning, and my husband's a chef, so he works afternoon, evenings, one of us was always here to raise our kids. We've never had to use daycare. I know we are very lucky in that because a lot of people don't have that luxury, but that's one thing I'm grateful for, because now that my kids are teenagers, like if I need to work something else, or if I'm going to meet a friend or something, they're old enough now where they can stay home by themselves. But when they were younger, we don't have a lot of family around. Like my dad was pretty much it. And, you know, so he would watch them on occasion, but it's good that we always made it so somebody was always here with our kids. As for me, like me personality wise, I am a crazy cat person. Speaking of, here's one of my babies. This is Thunder. He pops in all the time whenever I'm filming. This little fucker wants to lay with me all the time. Speaking of fuckers, I swear like a sailor. So if you don't like swearing, you're not gonna like me or my channel very much. I swear like a sailor. I call them my sentence enhancers. I've done it my entire life. I know it bugs some people, but that's just me. I rant. So if I read something shitty that I absolutely hate, I will in my wrap up rant about it and rave about it, and swear words will be used. So again, apologies if you don't like swearing. My fucking cat, Thunder, he's trying to make himself comfortable and he can't because of the way I'm sitting and... Sir? Here, how about this? Look here. Just lay right here. Lay right here. Lay next to me. You don't have to be right in front of me. See? Oh. Okay. Oh, okay. You're gonna fall. You're like right at the edge of the bed. You could just lay next to me on the other side and this wouldn't be an issue. So I have two cats, Thunder and Herman. Herman is a fat ass and he looks very much like Becca's cat, Hamilton, Hammy. So we have Hammy and Hermy. But speaking of like ranting, because I do love to rant, the only problem is I don't get very many rants, only because I'm a strict DNFer. If I don't like something, I will DNF it. And usually I can rant about why I DNF'd it. So you will see a rant now and again. My friend Jamie loves when I rant. He gets really excited when I rant. So speaking of rants, I can do one right now. Because I've been stewing about this for 2 days and I'm really, really pissed off. I kind of mentioned this to Sarah when we were chatting the other day, but Jesus fucking Christ. So Empire the Vampire by Kristoff is one of my most anticipated books of it is my most anticipated book of 2021. I've been waiting for this fucking book for 2 years. 2 years. Been waiting for this book. Kristoff is an auto-buy author for me. I absolutely love his books. I have been waiting for this book for 2 fucking years. I pre-ordered it in February of 2020, 7 months before release. 7 months and a couple weeks before, and a week. It was literally 7 months and a week before release date. And so I ordered it through Amazon and I clicked the box that says delivery on release day, because I always want that, obviously, if you're going to pre-order a book. Never had a problem with pre-ordering with them ever. I mean, they're a big conglomerate. They're based out of Washington State, for fuck's sake. They were created in this state. They've had pre-orders for months and months and months. Kristoff always has a thing that if you pre-order his book, your copy will come signed. He's done that for his Nevernight book, stuff like that, which I think is awesome. It's really nice. That means you don't have to spend a fortune for the special editions that they do to get a signed copy. If you pre-order just the basic bitch run-of-the-mill book, it'll come signed. So the release date was 2 days ago, on Tuesday the 14th. I was so excited. I checked my tracking on my orders and it said should arrive today by 10 p.m., but it didn't say shipped. They took the money out of my account on Tuesday to pay for it. It was like, okay, it's going to be shipped. And then I got an email saying that it was delayed. And so I got on the customer service and I started talking to them. And the guy pretty much told me that it was out of stock. How the fuck is it out of stock? It came out today and you have pre-orders. And he goes, well, I was like, did you not get enough books for the pre-orders? And he goes, that might be the case, but it's showing as out of stock. I don't care if it's out of stock right now for people trying to buy it today. I pre-ordered this 7 months ago and asked of it to be delivered today. Well, I guess you're just one of the unlucky ones. It should ship in like 2 days. No. It should not ship in 2 days when you get extra stock, and it should be here today. He did nothing to help me or compensate me, or he just pretty much said, tough shit, you were unlucky. You're just going to have to wait now, which infuriated me. I hadn't read anything in 5 days in anticipation of this book. I've been waiting for this book for 2 fucking years. All I wanted to do was fucking read it. I kind of want to savor it, but I also want to binge it. You know, it's just I just wanted it so bad. So I started bitching all over the internet, and then I was looking yesterday and it didn't say shipped, but it said, oh, what did it say? It said something, oh, I got an email saying there's a delay, you won't be charged until it ships. So then I got back on there again and I said, what the fuck is this? I said, it just says delayed, doesn't say when it's going to be shipped. You guys have already taken my money. Now it's saying that, you know, I haven't paid yet, but I have. And so I got back on there again. And then I went on to the Amazon website to look up Empire the Vampire to see if I could order it. And it said it was fucking in stock. You said it wasn't going to be in stock until today, Thursday. It is Wednesday. Now it's all of a sudden in stock and my book still isn't fucking shipped. And it should have been here yesterday. Where the fuck is it? I was so pissed. So I get back on the customer service. I lay everything all out for this person, who obviously was somebody who was outsourced. They didn't even say shit. They left the chat. Somebody else comes back in named Cameron, who he was like, I'm so sorry. I would be frustrated if I were you. He was actually very nice. He gave me like a $10 credit to my account. So when I order anything, it'll just come off my bill. And an apology, which is nice. That's almost like half off the cost of the book. And he apologized and said it should ship within a day. And today I got the shipping. It shipped today, now, which is Thursday, and it won't be here until Monday. I have Prime and 2-day shipping. Why the fuck isn't it going to be here until Monday? So I have to wait almost a week extra. I was so frustrated yesterday that I bought the book twice. I ended up buying it on Kindle because I couldn't fucking wait. I was so impatient because I was just so frustrated. I was so upset. And I am a part of Becca's Discord from Becca in the Books. I'm one of her patrons because she's one of my favorite booktubers, obviously, or I wouldn't pay her for extra interaction. But her and I had been friendly beforehand. Like, we talked a couple of times through DMs and shit like that. And so when she made a patron, I was like, well, I'm definitely going to be a patron because I like her. Is she a nice person? Kidding. Though I do call her Twat Waffle all the time. But, you know, I enjoy her and I enjoy her content. And so she has a private Discord for her patrons. So I was bitching in there, which I've made a ton of friends in there who I absolutely adore. She kind of created a great community, or the people who are in there are amazing. And Jamie, who is also in the UK, he said that he has 2 copies of Empire and he's already read it because the UK and Australians got it a week before us. And so he finished it and it was 5 stars. He said it was fucking amazing, which just gave me more FOMO. And so he's like, I'm getting the Illumicrate version and I already have this version, which is like, I think the standard Waterstones, which has black sprayed edges and the UK cover. And he offered to ship it to me because he's a sweet human being. And he goes, it's signed. He goes, therefore, if your copy when it arrives isn't signed, then at least you have a signed copy. And I was like, okay, thank you. Which kind of like it kind of dulled down my rant a little bit because my friends are very kind. But there's my little mini rant. I was very fucking furious because I've never had that kind of problem with Amazon before. But like when it comes to like booktubers and online friends, I have quite a few. And that's why I created my channel. I created my channel specifically to talk to people about books because nobody really in my real life reads. Or if they do, they only read like a certain type. I wanted to be able to broaden my horizons. When I found BookTube, I was in a rut reading wise. I hadn't really read much in a year or two. All of my favorite authors, I'd either exhausted all of their books or were just kind of bored. Like I wanted something new. And I had Goodreads, but I didn't understand really how to find new authors and stuff like that, or, you know, people that were talking about them. So I had, what was it? I think it was an advertisement for the Nocturnal Readers box that came up on like Facebook or something like that, which is a now defunct, bankrupt horror book subscription box. And so I clicked on it to be like, oh, what's this? Because I'd already found Book of the Month. I found Book of the Month way before it like blew up all over BookTube. Like I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo before BookTube even knew it existed because it was in a Book of the Month box. I found that and subscribed to that before I found BookTube, and I still love Book of the Month. And I've been a member of theirs for like 4 years, 5 years, something like that. I think since like 2017, maybe something like that. So what is that, 4 years? And some of my favorite books have come from them. So I clicked on the Nocturnal Readers box. It was like, it was just an advertisement. So I read through it and I thought it was really cool. And at the bottom, it had a couple YouTube videos of people unboxing their past boxes. So there was one of a female doing it. So I clicked on it. I'm like, I want to see that. And the person I clicked on was Vicky from Vicky's Book Nook. So I was like, what is this? And so I was like, well, I'll just look at her channel, because I was not a big YouTube watcher. For me at that time, YouTube was for like music videos and stuff like that. I go to YouTube to look up a music video or something like that. I didn't know this whole little niche community existed. So after watching her video, it had like suggested that were hers. So I clicked on her channel. And back then she was, her channel name was Chapter 32. So I started looking and I was like, oh, what's this? And it was like a TBR and like wrap up. So I like binged all of her shit and like, this exists. There's people who make videos about books that they read and what they thought of them. And then it was an entire rabbit hole. So Vicky was like the first person that I followed on BookTube. So then I found all these other people, of course, and you kind of fall down that rabbit hole. And then I started commenting on her videos all the time. Because at that time, I think she was under 1,000. I believe at that time. She was under 1,000 subscribers. And so I started interacting with her and asking her questions on her Q&A. And I had kind of thought about maybe making my own channel, because I just wanted to talk to people about books and, you know, be able to spew my thoughts about them with people who would actually care to hear what I had to say. Because if I talk to my family members, like my husband is just like, like he doesn't care. Like he really doesn't care. Like that man doesn't read much. When he does, it's only Dean Koontz, it seems like. So, I mean, I didn't really have anybody to talk to. So I was like, well, this is an open forum space where I can literally shout my opinions and thoughts into the void, and sometimes it echoes back and somebody talks to me. She encouraged me to start my channel, and so I did. I started by filming on the floor right next to my bed in front of my tiny bookshelf. I jerry-rigged it with this disposable camera small camera that's right there. So originally I started out filming on this camera. The only shitty thing is I couldn't see myself. So I couldn't see if the lighting was okay. I couldn't see if I was straight on. And then I realized quickly that the lighting was kind of shit. So then I'd film in front of my bedroom window, which is great because I'd get really good light in my face, but the whole background was kind of washed out. So, I mean, it kind of worked. But then I got this figured out where my husband, who is super sweet and supports my hobby, bought me a ring light. And so now I have a tiny ring light, which now I film on my phone, because on my phone, since I have a newer iPhone, I mean, they're just as good as almost any fucking camera, and I can see myself. So I know if I'm like way off over here, if it's crooked, which it's maybe a little off, whatever. But I can see how bad the lighting is. I can see, what's being shown. Like if I'm holding something up, I can see if it's in frame. So that's how I film. Like anybody can do it. I film on my iPhone 11, sitting on my bed with a ring light that's literally sitting on an ottoman so that the height is right in front of me, the camera can wiggle because if it's sitting on my bed. So if I move, so anybody can do it. I started my channel. Some people from Vicky's channel came over. Some other people just randomly found me. I'm not doing this as a job or to earn money. This is just a hobby for me, just so I can meet people. And I've met tons of wonderful people who have been so nice. I've got so many book recommendations. Like that's why my shelves look the way they do now. But it's been great. And I ended up finding a love for fantasy that I didn't think I would ever read fantasy. So as far as my reading taste, speaking of fantasy, my reading tastes really, really vary. So I love horror. I love thrillers, though I haven't read a lot of thrillers lately because I read so many in like 2018, which is when I started my channel, and into 2019 that I just couldn't do it anymore. Like all of them kind of seemed the same to me. So I've kind of taken a break from thrillers, but I will read one from time to time. So I read horror, thrillers, fantasy, though I read some high fantasy, but I tend to read mid fantasy. I like, unpopular opinion, I'm not a fan of Brandon Sanderson. I think his writing's bloated and he thinks very highly of himself. I don't like his writing at all. But I do love Stephen King, who his writing can be kind of bloated, but Stephen King, his books are more interesting to me. Brandon Sanderson, I just don't like his style. I've read The Way of Kings, so the first book in the Stormlight Archive, which took me forever to get through. And I hated half the people. If that book was just about Kaladin, I would have been fine because I really enjoyed his character and his backstory. And Dalamar was okay too, but I couldn't give a fuck about the female character, whatever her name is. And Dalamar's son, couldn't give a fuck about him either. And the world seemed really cool, but I mean, the book was way too big, and it was just like, ugh, I got bored. In the Mistborn, I read the first book in the Mistborn, which I really enjoyed that one. Tried to read book 2, and it was boring as fuck, and DNF'd it. I still have the trilogy over there in mass market paperback, but which I should probably get rid of because I really don't enjoy Sanderson's writing. So, unpopular opinion, not a real big fan of him. Might try to read The Wheel of Time at some point. Not sure though, because I tried reading the first book, Eye of the World. I started it, and it was very, very old school fantasy with a lot of the old school tropes, which I'm fine with. But it just seemed like the writing was going to be really slow, and I struggle with slow moving books. Slow moving books tend to make me slump or want a DNF. So I kind of set it aside. I may give it a try later. Robin Hobb is really making a comeback right now. I tried reading the first book in her Realm of the Elderlings series. Tried reading it physically and had a hard time getting into it, but watching everybody else like Becca and Cody and Jade and Ashley and everybody read it and really love it and say that it's emotionally like so draining, it makes me want to try again, but I might try it on audio this time. Speaking of audiobooks, I used to hate audiobooks, never would read them or listen to them, thought they, like whatever, could never concentrate. Now that seems to be some of the only way I can consume books, because I was recently diagnosed with ADHD or ADD that kind of came later in life to where I just can't focus. But if I'm listening to an audiobook, I can easily focus and like play on my tablet or something like that, and I consume the story. So I've struggled reading physically lately, but audiobooks seem to be the way to go. So I might try her again on audio. Like I said, love J. Kristoff. The Nevernight series is one of my favorite series of all time. I also love Mark Lawrence. So the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, like that starts with Red Sister. Absolutely fucking love those. You'll learn from me really quick that any book that I love, I will try to push for you to read. If you even mention that you have it on your TBR and you want to read it, I will scream at you to read it until you do. Because it's just how I roll. I don't read a lot of sci-fi. I've read like Leviathan Wakes by, what his name's James S.A. Corey. I have book 2. I just haven't continued it, but I did really love Leviathan Wakes. So I'm kind of like, I don't read a lot of YA. There are some exceptions to the rule, but they're very, very rare. Like Sarah J. Maas is somebody that I was like, nope, never gonna read. I fucking hate her. And then I have a vlog, you'll find it on my channel, where Becca was, DMing me, and she's like, you really should try A Court of Thorns and Roses, because starts out kind of YA, but then gets adult, and it's a lot more different than Throne of Glass. You'll probably like it more. She was right. I binged that an entire week during vacation, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I love A Court of Thorns and Roses. I have tried to go back and reread Throne of Glass. I've gotten through the book of novellas and the first 3 or 4. I'm on book 5. I've read the first 4. So I'm on book 5, and I still haven't finished it. I got kind of burnt out. I'll come back to it eventually. So, but I don't really push Sarah J. Maas, like, cause everybody knows who the fuck she is. I just kind of came into her late. I really like Samantha Shannon. I like The Prior of the Orange Tree, and I've started reading, her Bone Season series. So I'm really getting into that. When it comes to like fantasy wise, that's kind of like my taste. I don't read a lot of heavy, high fantasy, though I do dabble. But that's kind of where I fit. So, I'll read kind of like whatever. Horror. I love horror. I love Michael McDowell. Vicky turned me on to him, and her and I both read him a lot. I also like, Stephen King, but I'm really picky with my Stephen King. I love Grady Hendrix. You will hear me talk about Grady Hendrix all the fucking time. I absolutely adore him. When it comes to thrillers, I'm really, really fucking picky on. Like, I don't even think I have a thriller that I've kept on my shelf. Oh, wait. Simone St. James. Love her books. Simone St. James wrote The Broken Girls and The Sundown Motel. Absolutely love those 2 books. She has very much a past and present timeline switch with usually kind of supernatural ghosty things. Absolutely adore hers. Let's see. Karen Slaughter. Karen Slaughter, absolutely love her books. Wasn't a big fan of a couple of them. Love her standalones. The Grant County series is really good, though I haven't finished it, and I have not read the Will Trent series yet, but I do love Karen Slaughter because she's very, very brutal in her thriller writing. Like, she doesn't hold back. Absolutely adore her. I would recommend her all day long. I think that's about it horror wise, like trying to think. Like, horror's kind of subjective, and Richard Layman, I guess I should mention him. I haven't read him in a while. I've read almost all of his books except for like 4 or 5 that were hard to find or out of print. I read them all a lot in my 20s. Richard Layman is very much a niche horror writer, though. He's very, very, very brutal in his writing, so I don't talk about him as often. I did start trying a year or so ago, try to read his books in publication order, and I forgot how much his older books really suck, and he didn't really come into his own until the 90s. He died in 2001, so a lot of his books are harder to find. They did have them all in Kindle Unlimited, but he literally has trigger warnings for everything. Very, very gory, very, very graphic. There is a lot of sexual graphicness in his books, like, and a lot of sexual gore, like a lot of rape, stuff like that, sexual assault. There are some stories of his that I do really enjoy, even because I know that they're hard to read, but it doesn't bother me as much. It doesn't trigger me. So, like, if you want to try him out, tread very lightly. If you want to try him out, like, if you are inclined to horror and you don't mind all the triggers and the gore and stuff, I know Vicky won't try him because she says it's too much for her. So, if you don't really mind and you really wanted to get into some, like, gritty, nasty horror, I mean, they're very pulpy, and I can give you some suggestions that I think aren't as horrific as some of the others. It just all depends, but just be prepared for lots of gore and sexual assault, because that's the kind of they tend to put him in what they call the splatterpunk. I think it's what they call it, splatterpunk genre, which other people have said no, I wouldn't consider him splatterpunk, but like things I've read, they kind of shove him there. So he's very much splattery in his writing. But I enjoyed the books that I read them. There's a shelf right down here. This shelf right here is all Richard Layman. So I own all of his books that I can get my hands on. So I do like to pick one up now and again. I kind of consider him like a horror palate cleanser, which sounds bad because, content wise, they're pretty gross, but I am who I am. When it comes to other genres, I don't read a lot of literary fiction. I do on occasion. It really depends on the subject matter of the book. I don't like books that are just, this is a day in the life of people. Like, that bores me, which is also why I don't read contemporary romance, because contemporary romance is the exact same thing. This is just everybody's everyday life, and this is how they fall in love. That's fucking boring. If I want to read romance, I read fantasy romance because I need some kind of a fantasy plot, or some kind of a plot that goes along with the romance. I don't mind smut in my books. I don't mind romance in my books, but I got to have some kind of a plot with it, which is why I tend to read fantasy romance. My favorite fantasy romance authors, I really love Laura Thalassa. I love the Rhapsodic series. I love her Four Horsemen series. Is there anybody else that I really enjoyed? She's like my favorite when it comes to fantasy romance, for sure. Oh, Jennifer L. Armentrout. I do love From Blood and Ash, though I still haven't read the last book that came out. I haven't finished it because I was in my slump. So in my slump where I was having problems reading physically, I still have it. I will read it eventually. So, like, I'm kind of picky when it comes to my fantasy romance, so I'll just pick and choose. A couple friends of mine have got a couple, like Katie Robert, which Katie Robert to me isn't fantasy romance. She's just straight erotica with a little dash of plot, but the plot is very thin. It's mostly just straight erotica. So I don't read that, like, ever. I have to very much be in the mood, which is rare. But literary fiction, back to that, I don't usually pick up. It really has to be a subject that I'm really interested in. So I really love, like, family dramas. So, which is why I love Leanne Moriarty. And what's the other one? She's like the main one where I really enjoy her because she writes a lot. Oh, and Lisa Jewell is another one, but Lisa Jewell writes thrillers, but it's very much a thriller light that really circles on, like, family, neighborhood, relationship drama. And that's why I like Leanne Moriarty, because it's the same. That's a literary fiction I can read because there's a lot of backstory and, like, family secrets and stuff like that. Totally love those. So Leanne Moriarty's got a new book coming out that I'm excited to read. I've read a lot of her books. So, literary fiction I'm very, 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 very picky about. Very picky about. See, is there any genres that I've missed that are, like, main genres? because I covered all the main ones that I read. So if you kind of get a mixed bag here, it just kind of depends on what I'm in the mood for. Like this month, I've only read 2 and I'm in the middle of reading 3 more. So I've read a thriller. I've read a sci-fi fantasy. I'm in the middle of a grimdark fantasy. I barely started a regular basic bitch. That one is also a sci-fi fantasy that I've barely started. And then I've picked up Empire the Vampire on Kindle. And so that one is a horror fantasy. So I'm kind of all over the board. You'll get a little bit, and I also don't read middle grade. I don't read middle grade. I find middle grade boring. I'm a 37-year-old adult. To me, middle grade does not appeal to me at all. Yes, they're quick reads, but it's way below my age range, obviously. So for me, it's not as interesting. Like, I don't want to pick that up. That doesn't interest me. So you won't see any middle grade here. I think that's it. I think I've covered everything. I think. So yeah, that's it. This is me. This is who I am. I'm, a grown-ass woman who loves to read and loves to talk to people about books. I swear like a fucking sailor. And you know I won't stop. So if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but I won't stop. That's just me. It's who I am. I like to rant now and again. I do work and I do have kids that are busy. So, my content's kind of like up and down. We'll see, like it just kind of like this, but you will definitely get a TBR and wrap-ups from me. So that you can at least rely on that. If anything else comes up, then I'll let you know. Oh, I guess I forgot to mention, which I should mention. I usually mention in most of my videos. Vicky and I started a book club that we run on Goodreads called the Random Reads Book Club. It's always linked in my description. We read a book every 2 months. So we're currently reading The Stand by Stephen King. That was August through September. So in the beginning of October and October through November, we're going to read another book, which has already been chosen. If you're a part of the group, you will have already seen it. It's up there. And if you're not in the group, then we announce it in our TBR for the month that where we start it. Vicky and I just recently picked out all of our books for 2022. So since we read a book every 2 months, we only have to pick 6 for the year. So her and I would buddy read a book every other month. And we started that a couple years ago. And one day I contacted Vicky, was like, hey, why don't we just make this into like a book club where other people can join us? And she's like, oh my God, that's a great idea. So we just made a Goodreads group. It's totally casual. It's totally lax and laid back. People have said, oh, I don't really feel like reading this book, so I'm not gonna. And some people are like, want to read all of them with us. So it just really depends on where you're at. You can interact in the Goodreads group. Most people I notice aren't that active. It's mostly me, Vicky, and a couple others that are pretty active and like our thoughts and feelings, but you can read with us. And of course, then we talk about it in a wrap up. I haven't had good luck with our book club. Vicky's had better luck than me. I've DNF'd 3 or 4 of them already. And one I rated pretty low. And The Stand, I'm halfway through and I haven't picked it up since like the 1st or 2nd week of August because I got bogged down and like picked up other books and I'm enjoying it. I just haven't finished it yet. So I will eventually, maybe in October, because this month isn't going that great. But yeah, so there's that. But other than that, I think I covered everything. I covered my family, just kind of me as a person. I obviously love the Seahawks. I'm a huge sports fan. I think that's it. If there's anything else that I didn't cover that you're curious about me, please let me know in the comments. You can leave a question. Like maybe I'll do a follow-up with anything asked, or if there's only a couple, I'll just answer you right in the comments. Like I have no problem. I'm a pretty open book here. So, that's pretty much it. Watch out towards the end of this month, beginning of October on Sarah's channel, because her and I are kind of doing something and the video will go up on her channel. So kind of keep an eye out for that. But other than that, I think that's it, guys. So if you have any questions for me that I didn't answer or didn't cover, I feel like I kind of word vomited all over. I've been filming for 46 minutes. So pretty much feel like I've word vomited fucking everywhere. But yeah, sorry. This is also me. I make really long videos because I can't ever shut the fuck up. So, but other than that, I think I got everything. I think I've said that like 5 times now. Leave any questions that I didn't answer or didn't cover, or topics I didn't cover in the comments below, and I'll answer them because, again, open book, and I read all of my comments and usually respond to all my comments. So, but I guess I will see you guys in my next video, which probably will be my October TBR at the rate I'm going now. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.